Everybody's rolling
Ready to
in,
rock and
yeah,
roll?
and we can kick things off. I know you had a bit of an agenda, but firstly, I want to also say thanks to the Bobby Rabbits team for hosting us tonight. And I think the Ducks are kind of interested to hear in what you guys have to say as much as what I have to say. So let's see if we can get things running.
Totally. I mean, you have no idea how like grateful we were to have this opportunity, especially being so new to Magic Eden. We've been building our community slowly but surely for a couple months now, but we took a very organic approach, and are very against kind of the tactics and schemy things. So, we're letting word of mouth kind of speak for our actions rather than try to market our way or over market our way into the space. And so it means a lot that you guys kind of saw something in us that enabled this conversation to happen. And we have a lot of ducks that are also rabbit owners. We even have a role for it in our Discord. So, we really look up to y'all's project and community, and what you've been able to accomplish is pretty
I
awesome.
mean, you got my attention on Instagram and, with all the comments and the raids. So, I appreciate that approach. We actually, really prided ourselves on our approach through Instagram because a lot of the NFT collections don't really consider it as value, but we saw it as a huge opportunity to bring like new people into the space. And now I think it's kind of up there as a core marketing tool. So yeah, man, I mean, just the effort alone and then what you guys were doing with your project and a lot of our community members, as you said, were holders. It just seemed like the right opportunity to at least get the conversation going and take take it to a level where we could introduce each project to each community a little more formally.
Yeah, totally. I mean, when we first started our social media raids, it took it happened quickly, but we dialed it in and kind of figured out what's respectful and what works and what's not. And I think that's kind of, maybe what you're speaking to when you're saying that, the way that we approached
Exactly.
the raiding, yeah, you got to be respectful about it.
I took the same
And
approach when we were
support.
starting the project, and like I say, I said this when we speak on our collabs a lot. The guys that seem to be like duplicating the approach that we took, which was very organic, we know what it's like to be in that situation. So if we can lend a helping hand just by, even being on a spaces with you guys and at least using this as an opportunity for you to present to our ducks what you're all about, then why not?
Absolutely. So I'll go ahead and get kind of into our agenda. Certain topics that we thought about, we things that we wanted to discuss with you. And full transparency. Obviously this is an opportunity for us to show ducks who we are and kind of explain our side of things. But I thought it would be a little bit more valuable if we kind of brought these topics up and had a discussion with you on it and kind of see where your perspective meets ours, and kind of look at the contrast between a project in its infancy versus where you guys are now. And you might be able to reflect on some things, we might learn some things and help that help us maneuver the space successfully the way you did. But my first question, really, I think, like, before we get into it, we have a lot of new people that we're bringing into NFTs. And I remember you mentioned that that was something you guys did too, but this is a first project for a lot of people. Like, how would you define an NFT, or like, what does it mean to you? What is it now? What do you think it'll be in the future?
Sure. So before I get to that, I just want to introduce one of my co-founders, Sean, who I just brought up as a speaker. What's up, Sean? How's your evening going?
Hey, all good, all good. What's up, guys? Thanks
Uh,
for
he
having us.
he'll jump in on any of the questions too. But I mean, yeah, that first question for sure. I'd love to take a stab at that because I kind of took, my own approach in what I defined we were doing with DazedDucks early on. I really played on the concept that I was hearing in the NFT space of digital venture capitalism and saw a big opportunity to build a brand, with business capabilities, similar to what can be done in real life, but just with the ability to kind of get global exposure quicker than you can with through the traditional markets, and from our artist standpoint, that was also kind of critical too. It was building, a fan base almost over the matter of a few weeks or a few months, which you can't always do in real life. So we saw this huge brand value behind NFTs. And that's also why we kind of took this whole 10,000 supply structure. Initially, when we launched, a lot of people were questioning our amount of supply, and we kind of saw it as a necessity if we wanted to onboard people into the space and get them, vested in a brand that they believed in and a community that they believed in. So I would probably say brand, community, and art. And that's pretty much my definition of a great NFT collection. Sean, anything to add?
No, spot on, man.
Well, utility as well,
Thanks.
but I rank those three a little bit higher first because I love my ducks.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the glue that holds all that stuff together. If you don't have a good community, good art, none of the other stuff can really take off, I feel like. But yeah, I mean, we kind of see an NFT as like essentially a token that we can, you know, use to invite someone into a community and then uh, allow them to participate in things that we come up with. That's like the most basic definition we thought of. It's more than just art. I'll let Bobby tell you. He's the artist that came up with the rabbits. Kind of where his perception changed about what an NFT is. Just a few months back, and kind of his journey with that. Bobby, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure, man. Thank you guys again for having us on. Yeah, I was fascinated with the NFT space. I think it was like about a year and a half ago when I started hearing like the three letters NFT, NFT, NFT. Trying to Google it and figure it out, YouTube videos and all this stuff, and I couldn't get a straight answer, and I didn't know if it was something that I was gonna miss out on. But I had this like opposite approach. It's a complete 180. Like I wasn't interested in it as far as like I got to make money off this because it seems like everybody's cashing out, but it was more interesting in the sense of like where the art world was going. Like, is this going to be a thing where like um, this is the next art movement? Like, it's digital art, it's photography, it's like gifs, it's all this 3 dimensional stuff. It's crazy. Like, it was so out of my realm. um, but then like after having the conversation, finally meeting Brian within this journey, which has been pretty wild, and him giving me his perspective and like other side of it and the value of it and what it means to own an NFT, to hold an NFT, to get involved with the project, completely changed my perspective and understanding of what I thought I was like trying to get into. And yeah, as an artist, that's what I'm doing. Like, I'm a full-time artist, and it's kind of amazing to be able to sell art as far as the artist perspective from LA to Dubai or Asia or like somewhere far away where it's like I'm not having to send out like a super expensive canvas. It's pretty, and then like building the community behind that, it's pretty wild. Like, I have art collectors, but they don't have like there's not a community for them. So this is kind of changing the whole perspective on the art scene and like bringing these worlds together. And that's how like the two opposites, like me and Brian and Tyler, like we all come together because of this one image, this rabbit, and it's wild to see that.
Yeah, I mean, barriers to entry are really what I think the NFT space is working on breaking down, whether it's from that artist standpoint, getting your art out there, or, for collectors that want to be trading even NFTs, and now Solana makes it a lot easier for people that maybe don't have the higher net worth to trade on the ETH network, or, just want to have a little bit less risk in the game. So I think that's a lot of what is all these projects are about. But I guess I'd love to know kind of how you guys built that approach into launching your project, and when you guys came up with the concept behind the Bobby Rabbits, and give our ducks a little bit more insight into that as well.
Absolutely, and that's actually a perfect segue into the next topic that we wanted to talk about, which is the concept of a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization. Back in the fall, I was working with some street artists in Los Angeles and kind of like learning the art scene. And this one guy I was working with was like, you need to get into the NFT space. It's similar to Bobby's story where it was like, there's this thing and it's exciting, but I didn't understand it. And so I went on my own journey to learn. And it all kind of changed when I talked to this one guy that was talking about fractionalizing shares of like a painting. And that led me in a totally different direction, where I mean, my background, I worked for E-Trade for like 7 years. So I'm a licensed, stockbroker, financial advisor. I was managing money. I knew a lot about how stocks worked and bonds worked and how corporate structures work, all this super nerdy finance stuff. But um, I didn't connect the dots between that and this NFT space with the art immediately. But as soon as I did, like, it made so much more sense. Like, I view every NFT as, and we got to be careful how we talk about this too, because
Yeah.
of rules within the space. But I viewed every NFT not just as the ability of someone to be able to own a piece of art, but to essentially, have a say in what this community does. Um, so essentially, that's the conversation I have with Bobby. Is I was like, you know what, these and we just need to. This is why we need to learn how to do generative art, because we need enough of these things to give out to build a big community. Similar to what you said, where you wanted to have 10,000 ducks. I mean, we started thinking 10,000, but we had to make adjustments on the fly. And this project was really just a proof of concept for us to say, like, we have this vision about what we can do with this community we build and people's, interactions with our community via their NFT. And so,
Yeah,
that kind
it's
of
an opportunity to
changed.
bring the common man to the boardroom.
It really is. And you said something when we were on your call like a week ago about how corporate structures you're gonna start to see more involvement of like a DAO type of organization come into the business world, like, legitimately. And we're gonna see a lot of hybrids, I think. And I think that's kind of where this is heading. We essentially, Bobby, just he's an artist through and through. That's where his heart is. That's what he loves doing. um, we never have talked about wanting to make a bunch of money. It's always just been about having fun. Like, he drew so many of these attributes for these rabbits because he enjoyed doing it. And you know I kind of thought about how we can maneuver this space of NFTs. And then we have Tyler, our developer, that he made all that a reality through his understanding of code. And as a team, we just fit all those puzzle pieces together really well. But it's interesting. There's a lot happening with this idea of creating an organization that you know comes together as a community and kind of can function without a CEO.
It's definitely early times, we have to be aware of that. A lot of people talk about the NFT space from a collector standpoint as a great opportunity to make money, I guess. But we're still so early on that I don't think that full opportunity is actually even there. The people that are trying this out with different concepts behind different collections are the people that are still exploring what's going on and what's going to be successful and what isn't. We're still now seeing projects that launched in August only really coming to their full potential, and not even, they're just at the tip of the iceberg for a lot of what they can do with their communities and brands. So if you have that long-term approach, there's no reason, that you can do whatever you please with your community as long as they all kind of agree. But how do we get this many people to agree on a decision, and business decisions that may need to be made on a day-to-day basis or week-to-week basis? How do we maintain transparency? That's where the heavy lifting is. That's where community management comes into. And that's why you have to have a nice core team that's kind of familiar with all aspects of running a business if you want to take that approach. So, I mean, I commend you guys on taking that approach, similar to how we did. How did fill in our ducks on how your mint went, and what the next steps are now? Because that was February 22nd, correct?
That's February 2nd was our
Second.
public mint
Yeah.
day. Yeah, our pre-sale date was it was sold out in less than 24 hours.
Nice.
Pre-sale was on February 1st. But essentially, when we were building this thing, I taught myself how to build smart contracts over the course of like a month. Like, in November, I knew nothing about it, and I just watched YouTube videos for countless hours, like an insane amount of time I spent figuring it out. Finally, had it set up to where we could launch an NFT and get it in the hands of people. It would have worked, but then the program we used to build that kind of updated to a version 2. And I was a little concerned. And that's where we turned to Tyler and brought him into the fold. He has been amazing at helping us figure out the capabilities of this technology. He understands how to, we use tokens we airdrop tokens to people's wallets for pre-sale. And by having that token, when they connected their wallet, it recognized it and gave them access to a pre-sale price. So like his ability to navigate the technicalities of what these things are capable of, it has made us really effective in not wasting a bunch of money. Everything we've done is really cost efficient. And when we minted, we had to navigate a lot of stuff on the fly. We spent a month or two building up hype for the drop, but then once those people all bought them, we were having to find people that had never heard of Bobby Rabbits and convince them to mint a rabbit. We didn't sell out instantly, but we overcame that challenge, I think. It took us about a week to finish off the final ones. And at that time, Solana had dropped from like $140 per soul to like 90. So there were a lot of things that concerned us during minting, but I think we worked really well as a team to think about what is best for the community. We could have increased the amount of rabbits we sold to, raise the amount of US dollars worth of soul that we initially had thought we were going to get. We could have increased the price of the public sale, but none of that would have bode well for our trust that we had with our community. So we figured, we believe in the long-term vision so much that we're going to eat that short-term cost of Solana dropping and, figuring out like how we're going to get these things minted fully so we can get to the secondary market. And we just pushed forward. We never considered wasting money to advertise. I didn't think it was a good investment at that stage of the project. Ultimately it's a consideration to make, but we needed to get to secondary market so that we could be exposed to the broader world of NFTs. I think once you earn that badge of this collection is fully minted, sold out, all of them can be transacted upon via Magic Eden. That once we reached that level, it gave us a lot more flexibility. And we can circle back to this, but we went ahead and already within the first week, we figured that it would make sense to go ahead and drop our coin that will be used within our ecosystem.
Nice.
But I'll table that part for later. I don't know if Bobby or Tyler want to share anything about how our mint went and kind of how we navigated that situation.
I mean, navigating obstacles is key in building trust, If you take that with a transparent approach, it kind of builds trust in the community. We ran into our own obstacles as well. We were onboarding a new community into the space. A lot of them didn't even know how to set up a wallet. So it can be frustrating at that moment, but after the frustration clears, they come out feeling much better and have much more trust in the team. They know that you can guide them in the right direction. So it's good that you do come into those obstacles early on and learn from that as you grow.
Yeah, I mean, and that kind of speaks again. You're mentioning like the transparency involved with this. Like, what do you think is the importance of transparency in a project like these, and what decisions need to be made by leadership for the long-term benefit of the community? And is it ever okay to withhold certain information or time the release of certain information to protect the community?
It's the best that I saw was when the BAYC founders got doxxed. Somebody said, well, if you're running a company that has a multi-billion-dollar market cap, you kind of do need to be doxxed. And we took that approach first when we launched our project. One of the first marketing pieces that we put out was, a YouTube video introducing ourselves and doxing our full team. But then in terms of, maintaining that in the long run as a DAO, we're in this period now where, the core team is having to make some decisions on the fly. And I guess, that trust was vested in us by what we've overcome over the last few months, So hopefully until we get into this fully decentralized state, which we don't expect to really be operating like that, at least for another couple months, maybe even until the end of the year, until we reach that, there is this core team that is going to be making decisions. And sometimes I think communication is key. You can do that instantaneously now with the technology around us, whether that's Discord, Telegram, Instagram. But the decision-making process itself, if something needs to happen, price of Solana fluctuates, etc., you have expenses coming up, then yeah, you do expect that the person that has this responsibility within the core team is making the best decision for the community. And I think that's just something that you have to build organically. Sean, you want to speak a bit about that? I mean, we do have to sometimes make these decisions ourselves, and we do preach that we're not, a fully operating DAO just yet, even though we have some protocols in place.
Yeah, for sure. No, definitely on that point of we try and be as transparent as possible, as we can on almost everything, but there are those things in certain areas, and I guess the perfect example is a recent business venture that we're diving into, that we do hold back for a little bit. And one, we hold back to kind of build up the anticipation for it. Like, we had purchased these domains about 6 months ago, and we only made them public about 2 weeks ago. One, to again build up the anticipation for it, but then two, also depending on how the business is structured and the underlying technology of it,
Protecting that.
in certain situations, it's better to keep that hidden, so you can be the kind of market leader for it before it gets the cat gets out the bag of how it's made, and then someone else can make it pretty relatively easily or quickly.
Yeah, which comes kind of down to that what I said, where you are operating a bit like, a core team making these decisions. It's to maintain our competitive advantage in some sense, and we are operating in a space that does, quickly get out of hand sometimes if the cat gets out of the bag. So you do have to maintain that confidentiality for the benefit of your community and your brand. It's something they're trusting you with. It's more a business decision than actually withholding information. It's strategic, and that's kind of what we're doing. Sean was speaking a bit. We have a game place that we're looking to launch soon, and there's not everything that we can disclose to the community just yet about it, to maintain the agreements we have with our developers, etc. Because we're trying to be the first to market on their end, and that's
Right.
key. So yeah, you do come
Right.
into
Yeah.
these situations, and you have to just be prepared from a community management standpoint to handle them.
Yeah. I mean,
It also,
hmm?
I was just
Yeah,
going to
go
say,
for
it
it.
also speaks to, like, with crypto and this NFT market, we're moving so quickly, right? Like, and there are certain decisions that have to be made to increase the mobility, to be nimble, to navigate these waters in kind of a quick fashion. And the group dynamic doesn't always move that quickly, so there's got to be, I agree 100% with what everybody said. There's got to be that core team to make these decisions for the community, and then that gets communicated to the community, and that's how you build that trust. But I just wanted to throw that in there. Sometimes with this fast pace, you can't put it to a vote. It's got to be a snap decision.
Yeah, there's all these different governance protocols that exist right now for DAOs, and some of the tech is amazing and innovative, and we actually support a lot of those projects that are coming out to help DAO management become easier. But as you said there, we're in this transition phase, right? We're trying to build a business that has in real life value. So it does kind of have to be run like an in real life business as well. But the DAO concept is kind of the goal that we're all trying to achieve. I'd love for you guys to give a little bit of insight into how you guys govern, or what sort of governance you have behind your DAO, for your holders. Is it, based just on holding a rabbit, or is it you have a token? I think my holders would be pretty interested in that.
I think that's something we're still discussing in terms of exact way to implement. But right now, even within our Discord, we hold votes for decisions that are made, and we decided to take a more democratic approach. And it's not a weighted vote at the moment. So if you're a holder, you get a vote. Now, there are people, we have people with 10, 15 rabbits. There may be a switch to where that vote gets weighted, especially as we move into some of the governance protocols. I've been looking into those, and some of those are pretty awesome, what they've come up with. But we also have to make sure that our community doesn't get just washed out by somebody with a bunch of cash. that's something we want to make a consideration
We
toward.
maintain
So right
actually the
now,
one wallet, one vote concept right now, irregardless of how many ducks you hold. We do have a voting protocol that operates the same way. I agree with you.
yeah, it to me that I've been a part of some other DAOs in the past on different networks. And one of the key problems I've seen is people with a bigger wallet than I have come in and swing the vote. And to me, that's not as fair, because some of these people we onboarded into our community don't, the $100 they spent to buy a duck is a very, very important $100 to them, and their voice needs to be heard as well. So that's how our structure works right now. We don't have the actual dashboard. I was taking a look at your guys' dashboard, and it's beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
That's something we are, looking at building, and what route we want to go with, whether we want it to be token based or, like I said, we already created our carrot coin, and that's one way we distribute to our rabbit holders. But
Awesome. Well, that's a good transition,
yeah,
because I wanted to also get to, the holder benefits for rabbit holders, what sort of benefits there are, just kind of diving a little bit more into your project. You guys want to touch on what that currently looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. And to put a bow on that conversation that you and Tyler just had, I mean, it's a perfect example of one of those decisions that, as leadership, we had to make that decision, how the voting system is going to work, until we educate our community. So I think it's very important. That's one of the, benefits that we didn't plan on, and it's not like a super tangible one, but we are very focused on educating our community so that when it does get to the point where they're making big decisions autonomously, that they are educated enough to make the right choices and that this project succeeds. So it's been a very great forum in our Discord for people to learn. We set up a YouTube channel. We're going to, put out videos consistently to try to help people learn more about, what possibilities this technology brings. That being said, we are focused on a few things that, will directly benefit holders. Again, it's a tricky conversation to have right now just in the space because of how new everything is. And, we have to be careful about our language. And when coming from the financial world, I would never promise returns to anybody. With that being said as well, it's, we are trying to figure out what we can use this mint money for. We didn't mint all these rabbits to make a bunch of cash to, enrich ourselves, the leadership team. We're going to use that money for the community. We have royalties that go into a fund, a special wallet that is to be used for the community. We have another wallet that is, going to help fund what we can potentially do with the carrot coins. We are right now in the process of making sure as many people that hold our NFTs get verified in our Discord so that they can participate in voting, because that's a decision that we need to make soon. Our three biggest ideas are, one, there's a King Spray game on Oculus where you can spray paint, and Bobby being a street artist and that kind of being the vibe of our, art, the rabbits backstory coming from, street art culture. That's something we really want to explore is, the gaming aspect of this, where we can, develop potentially a virtual reality game. That would be super cool. We recently gave two of our members role of co-chairs of the 3D asset committee, because these guys, that just happen to, find us and purchase Bobby Rabbit NFTs, they have experience in 3D development and these crazy game engines that the three of us in the leadership team don't understand.
Yep.
So we're inviting them in to help us figure that out. Another thing that we want to explore is merchandise. We want to make this a brand. We want Bobby Rabbits to be a brand that goes outside of the NFT community. We want to see it on skateboarding, skate decks, clothes. We want to have people out there seen wearing this brand. And then one of our other ideas for the rabbits right now that we do want to explore is like 2D animation cartoons. We could start it out on YouTube and see if it gets picked up by a network. we have all these ideas, but they're going to take money. And because we said in our white paper that we're not going to keep all this money that we minted, we're going to use it to build the brand so that people's NFTs are more desirable. There's more demand for them. There's more value. That's how you get that floor price up, creating a demand for them. And we got to build our brand. And we're going to have to put some of those ideas to a vote and have conversations with our community, so that, they put money into this project to get a rabbit, and so they should have a say in what we end up doing to build the brand. So the utilities right now are going to depend on what our community decides, and that's all ties into why we want to educate everybody, hold these conversations with verified holders only, because they're the ones that you know are backing us, with their efforts, and by minting and buying rabbits. So that's kind of where we're at with the utilities right now, unless Bobby or Tyler have anything to add.
I mean, that approach can sometimes take a lot of heavy lifting from the community management standpoint, but it is kind of that open concept of a DAO, even just deciding from the get-go the direction of what you guys have raised through your mint and where the brand goes. So, I mean, I commend you for taking that task on too, because it is going to be, as you said, an education process. You're going to have to really figure out how you guide your community into making the decisions that's best for everybody as well. But look community in, and you'll find the team as well. I mean, the 3D aspect, it's funny you said that. We have a similar approach too. That's all holder driven, just based on the talent that's within our community. And that's kind of what these collections can be about. You look to build yourselves around what the newcomers to the Bobby Rabbits team could bring, what skills they have, what experience they have. And even us, we're still figuring out how best to use our community on the fly, especially while we're concentrating so much on delivering, our tech and our gameplays and everything that's in our white paper and roadmap. So it's a hard line to walk, but eventually when you do get there, I guess it'll be more organic, as you guys have already kind of taken that approach, because everybody will have had a say in where you end up. And that would be pretty inspiring to see. That's what these collections can be about.
Yeah, one of the objectives of what we want to do with and for our community is, we've grown to care about all these people. We have built like a legitimate community where everybody's getting to know each other. We learn about each other's lives. We from the get-go had a thread where you could promote yourself, and we learned that a lot of people in our community have all these crazy skills. They're working on their own small businesses. The talent in our community stretches a wide range of topics. So it is a collaboration. I mean, we do want to lean into the community to help us decide how we're going to use, or what, project we want to focus our energy on. But, it's up to leadership to figure out how to do that efficiently. Like we're talking for the cartoon, for example, I live near a art college in Atlanta. We could potentially make it like a situation where you have kids in school for 2D animation getting college credit to come up with our pilot, so we're not just wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars on just not understanding what we're doing and just paying somebody established. There are ways that we can get around these roadblocks for us financially. There are ways that we can use our resources the most wisely, and I think that's kind of where the collaboration comes in. We're trying to raise, essentially support our own community too. If they have skills, we can pay them with, we will use Bobby Rabbit's money to pay people within our own community before we go out and try to find someone else if that talent is here, because we want to support them. We want to raise them up and we want to showcase their talent too.
Yeah, I mean, you also have to consider, the fact that there's two sides to this audience in the NFT collector space. There are those flippers and traders that really just want to pick up collections and flip them as they're skyrocketing in floor price, or, riding a wave or a pump. So, they kind of do end up creating FUD when it takes a while for things to be delivered. And that's why I think from the get-go, you guys kind of also have to focus on what you can get to market, quickest, most efficiently, but also still deliver a quality product. And that takes time with the community. So as long as, I guess, you're prepared for that run and fighting any of that FUD within the community, you'll be okay. I'd love to learn a little bit more about your coin, Carrot Coin, and how that's being distributed, and what that future utility looks like as well.
Right now, we're taking the airdrop approach. In our white paper, you can see that each rabbit uh, from mint or from secondary generates a carrot per 1 carrot per day. Um, but we're realizing that one of the biggest things that we can accomplish with the carrot coin is a way to provide our value back to the community. Again, without getting into too much into exactly what that means, whether that's a financial thing or not. I don't want to push ourselves into a corner too much, but we want to switch to a staking mechanism, and that's one thing I'm personally working on now. I'm in a testing phase of our staking software to make the distribution of the carrot corn solid the carrot coin a little more like a little easier, and for those who don't list, and to reward the people who don't um, quick sell, because like we've talked about, there's nothing wrong with flipping an NFT. By all means, I've done it, but we also want to support the people who hold, and who believe in our core vision, and want to provide value back to us in the community. And I think staking's the best mechanism for that. It allows them to lock up their NFT and be rewarded with the carrot coin, um, for not selling and for holding on to that.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, it's similar approach as well. We're launching our staking mechanism March 1st. Um, it's kind of interesting though with the coin approach because we're looking at considering that pretty soon ourselves. And the reason I guess we've delayed it is more because we want to make sure that we have all the utility in place too, and that's why I kind of touch on that. It's kind of a coin can be double-sided in terms of, if people are just collecting it for rewards, they're going to find a way eventually to dump it out. So if you keep producing in terms of its utility or increasing its utility and growing that ecosystem, it gives it more value. And we kind of have to really all think of that as NFT collections. You see everyone coming out with a coin, and if it just ends up being for rewards, it can sometimes dilute the market a lot and cause future dumps to be a much more probability than you expect.
Absolutely.
So
I did want to touch on one thing I've always wanted to do is kind of this derivatives path where maybe that's in the form of a mutation, or however we want to take that as a community, using the coin to pay for that, as a reward, using the coin within our own ecosystem as well. It doesn't just have to be, I mean, that's the beauty of NFTs and these, even the fungible tokens that we create. They have so many uses. So we can use it within our own ecosystem for merch, or for, that's one thing we want to do. We also, like I said, the derivative path, whether we want to offer, serums for people to mutate, uh, maybe they can pay for that with a carrot coin.
yeah, I mean,
And I
oh, go ahead, BP. Sorry.
oh, no worries. I just wanted to add to that. That is one area where we differ, and um, there's no right or wrong answer, I think, but the logic behind why we went ahead and launched our coin like 7 days after we hit secondary market with no utility right now, and it really just being like a pretty little number in your wallet, is because it was a way for us to show our early holders that we didn't like forget about them. Like, we did the same type of concept with way pre-mint, like 2 months before we minted. When we first started our Discord, we had less than 100 members. We had the ranking system up before like our second member got there, because we wanted to make sure that we didn't know how we were going to use it. We inevitably used it to figure out who was going to be whitelisted and who got a free rabbit, but we put that out first because I think it's just about tracking for us. I didn't think that it would have been fair if we told people about this carrot coin to get them to mint it, and then we, just out, like way down the road, released it. And people that took the most risk by investing so early on did not get the benefit of all the time that they've held. So for me, it was important to get it, and we airdropped, the first 7 days worth of carrots already to essentially just say to our community, like, we know who you are that have been here since day one, and we're giving you something that can track that. The utility for it and all that stuff will come later, but it was important for me to show that we are keeping track of, who has held these things the longest.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's an important thing to consider, you know. I think a lot of, as I said, a lot of collections just launch and drop these tokens or coins in addition to their collection and just to kind of generate more funds. But as long as you have utility on the horizon or, keep transparent about the direction you're going to go, then it can work out to be pretty successful. Um, do we have any questions coming? Actually, we've got about 15 minutes left up here. If there's any speakers or audience members that have any questions for Sean and myself or the rest of the Bobby team, let us know. Just request to speak, raise your hand, and we'll try to answer them.
Totally.
I actually have some questions, and I've been sniping a few. What should I be looking for here? I mean, I got a few really cool ones that I like. But like, do you guys do rarity? If so, are there perks to it? Is it more the looks? Little backstory even on the artworks, possibly.
I'll let Tyler explain the rarity situation because he's been on top of that. But what I will say about that is I personally think that, rarity is kind of cool, but at a certain point, I think there should be something to said about a difference between desirability and rarity. You can have a really rare rabbit, but you might think it looks terrible. I think at some point in time, people will pay for what they want. I don't think the rarity necessarily matters unless you're trying to like short flip stuff and find like some arbitrage situation where you can get a really rare rabbit off the floor. Other than that, I'm in the category where I personally don't even check the rarity of the ones that I have. I just get the ones I like to look at.
A lot of people took the same approach with the ducks, and still do,
100%.
And I guess, as I said, there's two different audiences that you see in this community, in this NFT trader space or collector space, and I guess that's the two. One is a trader and one is a collector. And collectors kind of always just collect on opinion in most of their sense.
Absolutely. I mean, to me, rarity doesn't matter for my collection. I'm more of a collector. Even when I went to buy my duck, I didn't check the rarity until after I bought it. I went and bought one that kind of fit my vibe. But rarity's kind of a funny thing because I built a rarity bot that spit out rarities based on the way Rarity Tools switched to.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of didn't mesh with what was on Soul Rarity, which was the statistical rarity. Yeah. And that created so much confusion. I preferred my method. Maybe that's an ego thing. Who knows? So now we've switched. Rarity is on Soul Rarity and a Discord bot I built. I'm also building a web app, and that will all be statistical rarity. So it'll all be matching up.
Don't worry, we know what that's like. We had similar situations ourselves. There's so many third-party rarity tools out there, and the calculations can all just be slightly different. So when you have a big collection like us, that can impact people's rank actually quite differently when you're looking at 2 or 3 different tools. At first, we really just have to get everybody using our own in-house app that we built, and then kind of, seeing how we can get everybody else's data in line with that. But eventually it kind of synced up, and still you do have to toggle that statistical rarity option on how rare to get it to sync up to what it really is. So don't worry about it. It exists, and I know that it can create a little bit of FUD. But as I said, if you have the right community management standpoint and the right transparency behind every approach, then you'll get over that obstacle pretty quickly.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to speak on the rarity part, like as the artist, like when I was drawing these rabbits up, like it's so different from my original art. Like I'm usually like canvas, spray paint, oil paint, acrylic. I've never done really much of two dimensional artwork. And to be honest, when I got together with Brian, and when he was, I know I was struggling, like trying to figure this whole program out. Like I never used Procreate before. I didn't have an Apple Pen. Some of the things I drew were like literally with my finger. Like I was trying to figure out a lot of ways to like make something relatable and fun and catchy. And I had a hard time with it. And my wife was the one that was like telling me like, you need to get back down to like 101. You need to get back to like paper and pencil, draw these things out, do something, figure it out, let it flow. And it did. Like it started flowing and it started working, and I got like these ideas out. Uh, Once I got like the base of the character after like 30 different transitions, the attributes came after, like, and it got fun. Like I could not stop like doing it. I got better at the program. I started to understand layers and all this stuff. Like rarities weren't like Brian wouldn't even tell me like, hey, we need to make a more rare item or this or that. I never really even considered it much. I just liked the way it looked, when I was putting them together. And even like certain things that are attached to some of the rabbits, like I don't even know if people, they're kind of like, to me, like Easter eggs, I can say, in a way. Like, I had last one of our last Taco Tuesday talks. I finally had just like explained to the community why there's the stitches on the head and the stitches across the art. I mean, across the heart, which um, it was meant for mental health, the things that I've gone through, and life experiences, and the heart, like heartbreaks and
Nice.
pain and stuff. And when I actually let the community know that, um, Tyler, they all didn't know that, but Tyler was came up with the idea of like, hey, like, we should donate to um, a mental health foundation, and we didn't like really put it out there to like gain any traction or attention. It just came so organically that it felt so nice to, and I didn't really, I kind of kept it to myself. It was more of like an artist having like his little own Easter egg, and like, no one really asking too much about it. I think I don't know if somebody might have asked me, and I just told them what happened, like where it comes from. And like things like that mean so much more to me. And the fact that people are appreciating the art, like when we did the slow burn, showing the art, the some of the rabbits little by little, people really came to the community just for that. And it was pretty awesome. Like rarity wasn't even a topic till way later. But yeah, some of the attributes, like, are in a way related to like street art. Like the Banksy glasses that I put on there.
Yeah.
One of the vests that I made was from 80s movie. Um, oh man, what's the Warriors, like
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
Warriors movie, like stuff like that. The Andy Warhol banana shirt. There's like things in there that I think are kind of fun for you to have, not necessarily making them more unique. Even the rabbit that I own, it's like probably ranked like 800 or something, but like I love that. I love the way it looks. Like it speaks to me. It's a vibe. Like that's kind of like how I approach art to begin with. Like my art is always going to be unique no matter what I do to it. And it might be a portrait of, you know, Tupac or Mike Tyson or something. And there's like 100,000, portraits of Tupac's and Mike Tyson's that other artists have painted. I'm not the first one to do it, but I know that how I do it is going to be different from how everybody else does it, and it's not going to be the same regardless. So that's kind of like how I approach the rarity thing. And it's kind of awesome that the two guys that are on my team, like Tyler and Brian, didn't really like force that on me either. Like
Dope.
they weren't like, oh, we only have to have like certain amount of this and that. It was like they let it flow and let it be, and it came to be like a pretty awesome. It just came out pretty good. I would not change how things turned out when it comes to like rarity and stuff like that. I think we did a good job.
I mean, it does leave room, for further utility, but as long as I think you hit it on the nail when you said that it just gives you the ability to express your vibe, irregardless of which attribute it is or how rare it is. And we saw the same kind of in DazedDucks from the get-go when we started showcasing the art. Like everyone just once the art speaks to you, you don't look for necessarily rarity at first. You want something that suits who you are and kind of represents who you are, and that's what these PFP collections first start out as, right? Because that's how you interact with them first. It's your online
Mhm.
persona. It kind of gives off its own vibe, and you want that to reflect who you are or who you think you are. And as an artist, I want to ask kind of like how this whole generative art helps you put out like so many different expressions all at once within one collection, whereas normally, it could take years to do that through hand painted art through a series of different pieces over a long time. Like, did you find that uh, hard or interesting, or did it kind of create force you to create more and find your more creative side even more and go deeper into the creative process?
Yeah, I think it did push me to be more creative. Like I've always felt that I was in a box. Like my goal as an artist is to, show in big galleries, show at the Whitney, show huge shows, and do Miami and LA, and that was my ultimate goal. But then, the subjects and things I was painting, I felt kind of boxed in. And with, like exploring the NFT space and exploring, the generative art, like I did not expect me to like it as much as I do. Like, like switching from, real life, I wouldn't say real life, but like in a way of like using paints, getting dirty and like stretching my own canvas and building frames and cutting wood, and till all of a sudden, getting an iPad and a pencil or a plastic pencil and like drawing on this weird glassy surface. Like it was weird and like didn't it was foreign to me, but really I really enjoyed the process. And I think the one thing that I enjoyed the most out of this whole thing is the fact of being able to share my art now in a way of it's like a reach. Like yeah, I didn't really have an NFT, or a digital fan base, right? But now I could. Now people are like that are in the NFT space and art collectors are they know me now, like in a different way. Like, oh, this is Bobby Rabbits. He's the creator of this rabbit. This is dope. Like, what else does he do? Oh, he paints on canvas. Oh, he does this. He does shows. Like, he's like a legit artist, and that's kind of what I started to follow too, with especially with your guys' project.
Yeah, I
Like
wish
the
Guava was
fact that
here. He'd tell
oh
you the
yeah,
same
dude.
thing. He says the same thing to us all the time. So
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, I mean, we had a guy in our Discord, like he was blown away. He's like, "Man, this is amazing. Like, I'm I'm here in Dubai. I'm here in Dubai, and I'm literally buying artwork from an artist from LA. Like, yeah, that's not like insanely impossible. Like, I could do that, but I mean, as an artist, I don't know if people know this, but like, a lot of things come out of your pocket sometimes, especially when you're adding shipping costs to stuff. Like I live in LA, and for me to ship a canvas to Hawaii, for example, is could be close to like 300, 400, $500. And that's just shipping costs. Now you're telling me that I could send digital art that I created by hand to somebody in Dubai with just like the smallest transaction fee, and they can appreciate it. They could do whatever they want with it, and they could start following me as an artist. Like I found that unbelievable. Like I wish more artists were to take advantage of this situation, because we're so early in this game that before we get taken over by, I mean, we talked about this yesterday, but before things get taken over by bigger money corporations, we have so much power right now that we don't even realize that's at our fingertips. And as long as we're doing it right. I mean, you can find out who I am. Like you can trace back my profile, my history, uh, Brian's as well, and Tyler's. Like being a fully doxed team wasn't like a question like, oh, are we gonna hide our identities? It's like we went full force. Like everybody in the community knew who we were from the get go, and as an artist, like I truly, truly appreciate the new exposure that I'm getting out of this. and it's been a ride, man. It's been a pretty cool journey, and I have a lot of respect for the NFT space and its collectors. And you guys, like, teams like you guys that are killing it. It's pretty wild to see, and I feel pretty good being a part of it.
Well, I'm glad, we could kind of help you guys out because, as I said, I appreciated the approach you guys took to reaching out to us at the beginning. And supporting up and coming artists is kind of like our mantra too. We know what it's like to be in those early days when you're trying to get your art out there or spread the word of what your community is trying to do. So, I figured this would be a great opportunity to at least hear from you guys and hear more about what you're doing and about your art. I see actually a speaker that came up, Digital Photobot. Did you have a question for us?
Yeah, at first, I just want to thank the DazedDucks for sharing the space with us. We've been really excited about it all week.
No problem,
But
guys.
I guess just jump right to the question. So we are kind of a smaller community, in comparison to a lot right now. So what do you think the most valuable thing that you got from your community as far as expanding your community was? Like, did I
Don't lose
eloquently
focus,
phrase that?
you have to stay focused on what you set out to do, and don't, get distracted. Don't lose focus on if it's whether negative FUD or whether, it's different opportunities that are trying to pull you in different directions. But also maintain that transparency, as I said, because I think that's the key behind organic growth in this space right now. The less transparent teams you tend to see, even just from a metric standpoint, that Twitters and Discords are just full of bots and fake accounts. There's really no real community behind it. So to do that, you kind of have to show your face to get them to show theirs. And we see that in every decision that we have to make. Let them know, how we feel about it, why we feel this is a good decision, and just keep going from there. And that doesn't differ whether your community is 500 people or 10,000 people. It's the same sort of approach. In fact, it's easier to do with the smaller communities. So you guys, have it a little bit easier taking this approach. It is a bit more experimental, yes, because this whole DAO concept is so new, and this whole community driven brand thing where, everybody is a shareholder that kind of feels they have the same voice or equal sort of governance in the business's direction or the brand's direction. They're going to come to the table and want to do different things. And for you guys, just maintain your focus and what you set out to do, and try to deliver as best of a product as you can.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. I think that's pretty much what attracted me to the Rabbits community overall, was just how genuine it was and everybody in it was. But yeah, thank you very much.
Anytime, brother. All right. Any other questions from the audience? Feel free to come up, just request to speak, and it can be for the Bobby team or even the Ducks over here. We'll try to answer whatever you guys have. Sean?
So quick question. Don't know if it was done on purpose or not, but I scooped up a few, and actually one of my favorite ones is a guy with the Japanese inspired. He looks like a Japanese chef. So I noticed, is possibly with a different candy machine. I'm not sure if you even used candy machine, but a different mint address, because he's not in with the rest. Is that done on purpose, or did you guys maybe have a mistake on mint or something there?
Well, that was the problem we had with the switch from Candy Machine version 1 to Candy Machine version 2 was
Right.
randomization. And we, from our get-go, 10% of our collection was given to our early supporters. And we also had a few celebrity rabbits. So the Grammy-nominated producer M16 has a rabbit. And one way we wanted to be able to give him the specific rabbit was to mint the early 100. I think we did 200 up front in one candy machine, and the second 800 in the second candy machine. that was just because we could no longer control what came out first, so we could mint a few to give away. So it was purely just a consequence of Metaplex making the update. But for all those, the Candy Machine ID, there will be no problem on secondary market. They have all of our hash lists, so every rabbit in the collection's up there.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's not an issue at all.
Sure.
And it still operates. But I know like Meta Village purposefully separated theirs for each village. I think it was.
I remember we had a similar conversation back in like August, Sean, when we were starting. We were like, should we mint a bunch that, you know, are honorary, and could it, you know, it works for some collections. I think you guys, if you could get it in the hands of the right people, it really does draw big attention. But we actually opted against that and kind of just went with our traditional route. But we had an early bird sale as well for a similar amount, 20% of the collection. And that was still from the same candy machine. We actually did all 10,000 minted at once and then randomized what 20% was in that early bird.
Yeah, because you guys would have been able to use the candy machine version 1.
Yeah.
For yours, which that was, we were, I think, a week out from mint when they switched and completely, you know, deprecated the V1. So that was fun. But
I could imagine
that's really the whole reason for the 2 separate IDs.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no problem at all. And it's so normal to have those little things in it.
Right.
We actually have it in our artwork, where it seems like the compiler, I missed because I was compiling all the block list, and there's a very, very few ducks where the layers just don't fit right. But hey, that's part of the game. And at the end of the day, those can even have more value.
Right. I mean, I know coin collectors love when the mint messes up, so maybe we should have made more mistakes.
Yeah, right.
Straight up. Ri-Fi, you joined us up here on the floor. What's up, bro?
Hey guys. Glad to hear you guys always out, just grinding. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, we're hosting our friends from Bobby Rabbits.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the art too, by the way, guys. Probably the sickest rabbits on Solana. I mean, I can't think of any other rabbit projects right off the top of my head. But yeah, no, cool art. I really like it. My question is for the DazedDucks, though. You know, you guys kind of announced the Soul Games, and I just wanted to hear from you guys of what is some vision behind that, and what are you guys like really, really excited about with that platform?
Sure thing. Sean, you want to jump in on that?
I think what I'm really excited about that platform is I can really see it being a central hub for a lot of these NFT collections and communities to like come together and just do tournaments with these just casual games, these popular games that have been around for years, you know, that are always popular on the app stores even today, but now it's on a platform that can integrate with crypto, integrate with your NFTs, and seeing just how many people just love our trivia nights in Discord. I mean, this is just taking things to that next level. So like, I can't wait for it to come to life and have people just playing together on it there. And I'm really happy that we shifted away from like the casino style, because this is just a lot more our vibe and a lot friendlier. So, you know, it's going to be a place where we just kind of come together and challenge each other on these games, like even like 8-ball pool, mini golf, those type of things as well.
And I also think it's like the biggest venture that's going to help us scale in the direction that we want to as well, you know, because it's going to be accessible to the public and other collections. It's more just Web3 accessibility. And that kind of anybody outside of the DazedDucks will have this opportunity to see a platform built by the community, you know, built by the team, and realize, I want a part of this and want to benefit from this. And it'll just be that next cog in the wheel to kind of build this ecosystem that if we launch, some token of some sort sooner than we expect, it has utility from the minute it gets going.
And then on the note of bringing the communities together, just for an example of a few ideas that are possible. Well, one, there's an integration of an affiliate system within the gameplays too. So it's an opportunity for communities to depends on what the community wants to do. As in, the community can get that affiliate link, and they can bring their community members within the game place and others, and earn off of it as well. But then there's also the opportunity of reskinning the games themselves, and those can be reskinned on a specific NFT project. Obviously the first one that we're going to do is the ducks, but later on, as we make partnerships and whatnot, it'll just kind of come to life, more focused on Solana NFTs, which is pretty exciting.
Very cool. And I know that you guys probably don't know exactly what it's going to look like when it's finished, but like the first iteration, is it going to be like mini games and the front end is just like where you can join with people and is there chat rooms? Like how is it interactive? We use Discord for being able to kind of interact with each other.
Yeah, actually, that was something I was thinking about, because we don't have a chat room, or there won't be one when we launch, but it's definitely a feature that popped up in my head. I was like, yeah, that would be pretty cool, because there's going to be, can be hundreds, thousands of players at the same time, and a chat room's always good fun to have. And then as far as the mini games go, it will be the mini games. There will be the free to play side, where it's like, if you don't have crypto per se, it's going to be affordable for everyone, because a game's not going to cost more than $1 to enter. But let's just say if you don't have crypto, you can do the free to play, where you watch an ad and then you enter that tournament, and then you can build up your in-game currency to enter other tournaments, and it has all the integrations with all the leaderboards to display, obviously, who's first, second, third, and then you can even have different your profile and have your XP displayed as well. So yeah, it's super exciting on that, actually.
The developers actually have an internal site that they'll have ready for us pretty soon, actually. So we'll be able to release a lot more details on that. And I think Sean has already kind of seen a lot of that himself.
Yeah, 100%. And I think once we get it to a place where we're like stable and testing, obviously we'll probably release it in beta to the ducks. And we'll just go and play around with it, test it out, make sure it's all working good before we go public.
Very cool. I can't wait to try it out.
No
Heck
problem,
yeah,
bro.
love the Ducks. Love what you guys are doing, and definitely behind you.
We'll have to do another video when it launches.
Heck yeah, dude. Yeah, let's get it out.
For all our listeners, go check out Ri-Fi's YouTube channel and all his content on NFTs. He's a great channel to follow right now.
Yeah, the people need to know about the Ducks, man. Yeah.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, no, it's really cool because, NFTs really are, they're not just about utility, and you guys are really bringing a lot of that. But I think you have two magic things that have already happened, and it's definitely your team. It's like the love that you guys share, not only for each other, but the community. And then Guava's art is just out of this world, dude. So much depth, and it's really beautiful. I love what you guys are doing, and I can't wait to see it just catch fire.
Thank you. Thanks, guys, for all the support, man.
We appreciate it. We're like, we're ready for this next leg up. We feel it coming. But yeah, we're as we talked before in other spaces and whatnot, we're kind of repositioning ourselves as you know, what BP was talking about earlier in the financial world. So we're repositioning ourselves to take it to that next level, so we don't have any issues down the line there.
Totally. You guys
When
in that last space that I popped in, that you're always thinking months down the line, and like what you're speaking to right now, it's, you know, you got to be aware of how the space could change and like potential roadblocks that are months down the line, and start, you know, make the changes early. I think it's part of the transparency. You know, we try to make those changes before it's too late, instead of sit on it and, you know, take too much risk.
Yeah, it's better than getting caught with your pants down in the future.
Yeah, and I think that's why commitment is so important. You know, that's one thing that the D-Gods have been successful at is, you know, they did the paper hand bitch tax, and then they abandoned that because the market spoke. You know, it's being adaptable as well.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean,
Heck yeah.
I remember when D-Gods minted back in late summer. You know, they had a very quiet period that nobody talks about now because they're doing so well, and that's because they were building. The team had their heads down. They were doing what they needed to do, and that's where you see the community kind of filter out those paper hands, those flippers, those day traders, and you really do start to see who's in it for the long run.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I love hearing, you know, it's cool that you guys get in the spaces and Guava shows up too and talks, you know. I feel like in some spaces, you know, people are like, you're an icon. Like, you know, you guys are very transparent, and I love that about you too.
Thanks. We're just some island boys. We're the real island boys.
An island boy.
Jokes, jokes. All right. BP, Bobby, Dope, you guys have any other questions or any things you guys want to touch on before we kind of wrap things up?
I'll just say, really, again, like, so much gratitude for you guys taking time out of, you know, your space to do this with us. I mean, it's so helpful for both communities, I think, to hear these conversations, and it's obviously helpful for us. And it was cool for our members to get to see, like, even the questions at the end that were about the ducks. Like, that's, you know, with the way that we want to interact with and engage with our community. So it was really cool to get to share this, you know, space with you guys.
Anytime, man.
Yeah. Thanks a ton for joining up on this space. It's been a blast for me, at least.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah, it was really nice talking to you guys. I think you guys have something special going on. Solid team, and I'm sure you guys will come up with something great.
Yeah.
And I'll yeah, and I'm sure we'll keep in touch.
Definitely, you know, we're always here to help and guide and share what we've learned along our journey with, you know, big or small communities, because I think it doesn't really matter about the size, it's more about the intention. So thanks for all our listeners that joined us, and our questions were awesome always, and you guys were a great transparent team, insightful into everything that's going on in your project. And I think the Ducks will probably take a little look if they're pretty interested, if they're not already in there. And as I said, all lines of communication are open. Feel free to, you know, keep us informed along the way, and we'll be here.